Prevalence of racism and sexism in all levels of sports, presented to you by Group 47. In both current and previous eras of sports, racial and gender disparities have been affecting athletes throughout all levels of participation, from entry-level events to mid-level competitive clubs, and finally the professional leagues. Women and people of color have experienced the unrelenting prevalence of both racism and sexism. The spectrum of this discrimination has differing effects that range from lack of opportunity and funding, media mistreatment rooted in prejudice, race and gender-fueled harassment from sports fans, inequality in pay, benefits, and recognition, along with many others. Racism and sexism is nothing new to modern-day players and athletes as these discriminatory experiences date back over 100 years when women and people of color first entered sports. Sexism in sports. In 1900s, just only 2.2% of the competitors to compete in the Olympics were women. By 2016, that number had drastically increased to 45%. Even though this number has increased over the years, women in sports still face gender discrimination all over the world in professional sports and lower-level sports. A known example for this is the women's USA soccer team, and the difference in pay they received compared to the men's USA soccer team. The women's soccer team played more games than the men's team and won a lot more, but still received a lower pay. The difference in coaching they received and the medical care treatment during season. Women are no different than men when it comes to performing the sport they are good at. They often deal with gender discrimination every time they participate in a sport. Sexism should not be a thing when it comes to professional sports because talent isn't based off which gender you are. More diversity in sports. Having more people of color in sports should be a major change in the sports world to allow equal opportunity to all athletes regardless of their race and to provide a more diverse environment. More diversity allows the people of color multiple opportunities to showcase their talent and not have to worry about how their race is going to affect their chances of making a team or earning their hard-earned money. In today's sports world, specifically baseball, you often see more white men and women participating and less people of color, which oftentimes people tend to overlook them because there isn't a huge number of them involved in the sport. Unfortunately, the slides below clearly show the stats of ethnicity and how low the stats are for people of color that are involved in sports nowadays, and this is something that should be taken seriously. Below is a chart that shows the ethnicity percentage of baseball players from the years 1946 to 2016. The percentage of the pitchers and the percentage of the outfielders. There are 3 different levels of sports. There's the lower level of sports, which is usually basketball, maybe football. And a quote says, "It's not rocket science why black parents with athletically gifted children steer them to basketball and football. The answer is money and their future. These parents see a more profitable future for their children in the long run. The NBA average salary is $8.3 million compared to the MLB average salary, which is only $4 million. Only. With a sport like basketball and football, these kids are allowed to be more themselves through self-expression rather than playing baseball and being themselves through accepted behavior." Mid-level sports is the next level, which is mainly college sports. Baseball, most players of color that come from the minors and colleges are from countries in Latin America like the Dominican Republic, Cuba, etc. From those players that get chosen, they are recruited to historically black colleges, and then the rest of their colleges are overwhelmingly white. And last but not least, the third level, which is professional level sport, baseball. In 1956, Jackie Robinson's final year, African Americans constituted 6.7% of major league rosters. Today, African Americans constitute 7.7% of the rosters. Although sports have gone through progressive milestones in an attempt to remove racial and gender obstacles, there are still lasting disparities that have detrimental effects on the access and treatment experiences for athletes in sports. Although racism in sports is decreasing, there are still many athletes that have to face racism. It's important to use our voices and to speak out on these issues and stand up for all the people of color and women. Thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope this brought you awareness to racism and sexism in sports. These are issues that people face on the daily, and it's important that we make change. prevalence,